What's up, folks? Ragnarok here with a Total War 3 Kingdoms exclusive campaign preview. Obviously, Creative Assembly is not going to give a yahoo like myself early access to their beloved shiny new toy. I can only dream of such things. However, CA has been releasing a lot of footage on their Total War Live YouTube channel over the past few months, which should allow us to piece together the beginnings of a strategy and an approach for this campaign. Make sure to subscribe to the Total War Live if you haven't already. There's a lot of good stuff on there. They've been doing a ton of Let's Plays and some previews, things like that. I think they've got something big planned next week for Warhammer by the looks of things. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you go and check it out because you won't miss any of the great Total War action. So the game itself is less than a mere 2 months away. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really starting to get excited for this title. I wasn't at first, but I feel like, yeah, I'm totally in the mood for some warfare in ancient China. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I really can't wait to play this game. And I'm glad that CA has delayed the release. Angry Joe, the legendary game critic and reviewer, is always emphasizing the importance for developers to get things right on release, and I couldn't agree with him more in this case. Having said that, I'd be more than a smidge upset if I was one of the folks duped into pre-purchasing the game under the assumption it would be available to play last fall. Aside from that, the only thing that truly worries me is how excited everyone at CA seems to get about the aesthetics of the game. I just really hope that there is some solid substance at the core of this title. For now, we can only hope and wait to find out for ourselves in a few weeks. Alright, before I get right into this, just keep in mind that everything we'll be looking at here today is a development in progress. We'll be looking at clips and screenshots from multiple builds of the game. A lot of this could and almost certainly will change before release. And if history is any indication, we'll likely experience changes and rebalancing well after release. So take everything that we're going to talk about here today and take a look at with a grain of salt. Obviously, you guys have guessed by now that the legendary character we're going to be playing as is Zheng Jiang. If you're wondering why I've decided to name the campaign Little Dragon, is because we are going to be touching on a little bit of philosophy throughout the campaign. I'll do my best to introduce it without breaks in the gameplay and things like that. I don't have a lot of philosophy to go through in this one, but I do have some very good stuff. We are going to be reading excerpts from Bruce Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee was not only probably the greatest martial artist to live, he was also very possibly one of the greatest philosophers to ever live. And for myself personally, a lot of my inspiration to get into philosophy was because of the work that was done by this man. And this book in particular really opened my mind to the Eastern style of philosophy, which is really what drew me to philosophy in the first place. So I hope you guys really enjoy this. I'm just going to read the dedication of the book here for you before we switch back to some of the gameplay. This book is dedicated to the free, creative martial artist. Research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is essentially your own. So, Bruce Lee, Too Long, Little Dragon. That's why we are naming the campaign as such. Alright boys, let's crack on and just get right into this bad boy. I mean, look at how gorgeous this campaign map is. Here's a pretty good detail of our initial start position as Zheng Jiang. So, as her brother, the other rebel force to the north, and down here we've got the Empire, and then we've got a couple notable characters in this direction. So, it's somewhat of an isolated position. However, if we can establish a foothold in the mountains, establish our stronghold here, what I'm thinking is that we will descend on the plains here all the way up to the Yellow River, if that's possible, and then from that point on we'll sort of try and figure out where we're going to go next. My initial thoughts would be to go west and just secure the entire north, but I mean, things change on campaign quite regularly, so we'll see how things go. But the initial goal, I think, will be establishing our stronghold here in the mountains, and more than likely we will be feuding with our brother. I think the initial dilemma is whether we join him and work together, or if we decide to attack him, and probably going to lean towards the latter. Let's take a look at some of Zheng Jiang's campaign details. So Zheng Jiang is the Bandit Queen. Starting position is very hard. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how things go from the beginning, but if we can get through the initial stages, I think this is a campaign that we can get a lot of momentum going with. Her character specialization, she's a champion, so that'll fit in good with our Bruce Lee martial arts theme. Best used to engage enemy generals, however weaker against units. She's best grouped with retinues of spear infantry and glaive infantry. -1 turn mustering and plus 50% tribute in diplomacy. So nothing too exciting there. I wouldn't say. The plus 50% tribute in diplomacy, it all depends on how that system works, if that's going to be worthwhile or not. We'll have to wait and see and test it out. Alright, now for the good stuff. So for faction specialization, her unique mechanic is infamy, which I believe she gains through fighting battles, winning battles, and defeating characters. Probably different decisions you make on the campaign map will probably increase this. For example, sacking or raising settlements, things like that will probably increase or decrease infamy. So we won't know exactly how it works until the game is released, obviously, but yeah, it looks pretty interesting. So the infamy increases her prestige, it increases character experience, increases character satisfaction and morale, and does decrease over time. So I think you have to be fighting a lot of battles in order to keep this moving upwards. But the prestige, I believe, helps in diplomacy. The character experience, I guess, is self-explanatory. Having your characters at higher levels is always a good thing. And Total War increases character satisfaction and morale. That will be very helpful, so that we won't be losing characters. So yeah, the playstyle focus is aggressive expansion. So that's always when Total War is at its funnest, I think, when you're aggressively expanding. So I think this is going to be a really, really fun campaign. Let's take a look at her unique units and her unique buildings. So we've got the hidden axes, which are an assault infantry. They have a bonus for charge, and it looks like they're weak in defense versus cavalry. We also have the Fists of the Bandit Queen assault infantry, available for characters rank 3 or higher. Role is also assault, also good charge, and weak defense versus cavalry. So these elite battle-hardened bandits carry an axe in each hand and advance ahead of the front lines to catch their foes unawares. So more of the same. I think this is just a higher tier of the previous unit. Be interesting to see how well these guys perform on the battlefield, being low not having a lot of armor, but they should be quicker than the standard infantry units, which could make them useful. And when we take a look at the buildings here in a moment, we see that we have a unique agriculture building chain. So the Bandit layer, which is going to have very high replenishment, and I guess it's going to reduce our income. So having units that suffer a lot of casualties, these fast, hard-hitting units that are going to be open to missile fire and more heavily armored troops, having a building chain that can get them replenished very, very quickly could actually make these potentially a viable unit throughout the campaign. But again, a lot of this is just speculation. We'll see how things work when we actually get our hands on the game. Our final unique building is the Tribute Hall, which is a governmental building chain that produces income from our tributaries. So this is something that will depend heavily on how well balanced the tributary system works. If it is something that can provide a lot of income, then this building could be potentially very, very useful. One final thing to note about Zheng Jiang that could potentially give her a little bit of an edge over some of the other legendary heroes is in the diplomacy, you are given the option to join our faction through marriage. So you can potentially unite two factions together through marriage, and so long as there are eligible bachelors leading the factions out there, we could potentially merge two of the factions. So this is definitely something that I'm going to explore if we have the opportunity, and see if we can gain another one of the legendary lords, which would definitely help the campaign a lot. So here we are on turn 1, the turn 1 start position for Zheng Jiang, and as you can see, she does not begin with a settlement initially. So the first thing we'll have to do is defeat this enemy and then come and take this settlement, and this will be our main hideout, our first stronghold. After that, we'll have to decide whether to go north, fight against her brother, head south to secure some resources, or to head east to secure some other settlements. That's about as good of a summary based on the information that we have available that I can provide at this point. Just to reiterate, really what I think the best policy will be to move north and move this way, and then once we have a foundation set up in this mountainous terrain, to descend upon the plains here like a flood. I'd rather not move closer to the capital in the early stages of the campaign. I don't think that will be a good idea. I don't want to attract any unnecessary attention, but like a lot of the Total War campaigns that I've played in the past, I just want to try and build a solid foundation and then move forward through that, and then hopefully we can build some momentum and just sweep through a lot of this beautiful, beautiful terrain. The last thing that I wanted to go over today was just some of the basic strategies that we're going to be using throughout the campaign, such as army compositions and group selection. But before I do, I just want to comment, look how fucking gorgeous this campaign map looks. It's fantastic. You've got the little settlement there and all the people moving around, the peasants moving the agricultural goods and things like that. You can see the fortress in the background. Just looks fucking awesome. My one wish is that these little people that are on the map here, that this is tied to the actual population in the game. If you come in through an area like this and raise these settlements or sack them or whatever, it would be fantastic if you actually saw less of the actual population on the campaign map here. That would make me very, very happy, but at the end of the day, I mean, I guess it's not a huge thing, but in any case, I mean, the ambiance for the game just looks top-notch, and I am really, really excited to play this. What I'm thinking, guys, for our armies, probably we're gonna be seeing a lot of archers in my armies. I mean, this is anyone who's a fan of the channel, this is gonna come as no surprise to them. I'm really, really developing a very strong affinity for archers. I just think they're just such a versatile unit and just useful in pretty much every situation. There's not a lot of situations that the archers aren't useful, and in this particular battle, we're gonna see the strength of the archers in this campaign. I mean, again, it is a development in progress, so there's the possibility that some of the things here are going to be nerfed, or there'll be changes in balancing. But the army that Jordan's put together here, it's actually a pretty strong army, and when he moves forward here, we're going to see what happens against this enemy force and their archers. So I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. Jordan has moved his main force forward and has began engaging in melee with the enemy troops, and he should have a pretty solid advantage in melee here, I would think. He's got their melee troops outnumbered for the most part. He's got the cavalry on the flanks, and if he can eliminate those archers there on the left flank, then I should be in okay shape. But here in a moment, the AI is going to start using fire arrows and do devastating effect. Alright, so here, that was the first volley. And just watch what it does to the morale of Jordan's entire army. Already, the archer unit that's taking damage is starting to break, and the trees are starting to catch on fire. The ground is starting to catch on fire, and very, very quickly Jordan's army begins to dissolve. Now, this is on Warhammer mode. I'm sorry, romance mode, but at the same time, I mean, at records mode, maybe the morale is gonna be a little bit more difficult to break. However, just look at the damage that's being dealt out here, and just watch how quickly Jordan's army dissolves. I mean, his front line is completely disintegrating, which, yeah, I mean, this is a battle he probably should have won, but because of this devastation that those archers with fire arrows are doing, he pretty much gets crushed in this battle. So definitely something to take note of, folks, and definitely something that we will be using in the campaign is lots of archers and probably lots of fire arrows. Something else that we will also be using a lot of, and again, anyone who has watched some of my campaigns on the channel, this is going to be no surprise for them either. We will be using a lot of artillery. I freaking love having a range advantage, and the more trebuchets we can afford, the better. And in this particular battle, we're going to see them do a ton of damage. I do have to mention, though, the artillery was nerfed after this particular video was made. It's in, and we're going to see it here in a moment, just how overpowered this artillery is. They've nerfed the area of effect, so hitting the walls like this isn't going to cause quite as much damage to the troops standing on the walls. And on top of that, they did also increase the upkeep cost of the artillery, but still, all indications I think are that the artillery is going to be very, very strong and very useful, especially for taking these walled settlements, attacking encampments. It's going to be very, very useful, and even the minor settlements, it'll still be very useful in minor settlements. But yeah, little ridiculous there how overpowered it is, but like I said, it was nerfed after this was released. But still, we are definitely going to be using a lot of artillery as well. Here we have another example of the usefulness of the artillery, this time in a field battle. Again, this is from the same video as previously. I think it's part 1 of their Kong Rong Let's Play. Using the defensive formations like this and having an artillery advantage is going to put the AI at a severe disadvantage. This should give you guys an indication of how strong the artillery is going to be in combination with some of these defensive formations. I'm really going to enjoy using the strategists, I think, throughout these the Three Kingdoms campaigns. They just, the ranged units are going to be very, very deadly, I think. And it's going to be extremely difficult, I think, for the AI to be able to crack a defensive formation like this. The cavalry there just being totally melted by the archers. The artillery really done a lot of damage to the troops. That's about everything I have for you folks today. We are obviously going to play this game on the extreme unit size. It should make for an extremely fun campaign. These formations are looking good. I can't wait to play this game. Oh my gosh. Check out those roads, boys. I really hope that we have the option to do some road building. What empire would be complete without some proper roads, proper road system? Anyway, thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know which one of the legendary lords or legendary heroes you're going to play as first. And until then, have a great day. Ragnarok signing out.